Did medieval queens only ever marry for power and alliances? Was true affection just a fairy tale in the grand halls of European royalty between the years 1100 and 1500? Did any queen ever look at her king and feel something more than just duty? Number 8. Eleanor of Aquitaine. A fiery love forged in ambition and passion in the sweeping landscape of 12th century Europe, where kingdoms rose and fell on the strength of alliances and dynastic marriages. A figure emerged who seemed to defy the very foundations of her time. Eleanor of Aquitaine, born around 1122, was a woman of immense inheritance, possessing the vast duchy of Aquitaine in Gascony, a territory larger than the King of France's own domain. Her first marriage to Louis VII of France had been one of duty, a union that ultimately produced no male heir, and dissolved under the weight of incompatibility and political disappointment. But it was her second marriage to Henry Plantagenet, Duke of Normandy and Count of Anjou, and soon to be King Henry II of England, that stands as a testament to a connection far deeper than mere political convenience, a union that ignited with an almost reckless passion. Henry, a man 10 years her junior, was modic, energetic, and possessed a driving ambition that mirrored Eleanor's own fierce spirit. They met in circumstances shrouded in some mystery, but it is clear that a powerful attraction sparked between them almost immediately after Eleanor's marriage to Louis was annulled in March 1152. Less than 2 months later, in May of the same year, Eleanor married Henry. This was an astonishingly quick turnaround, especially given the complexities of royal marriage arrangements and the Church's pronouncements on divorce and remarriage. The haste suggests a mutual desire, an urgency that transcended the typical drawn-out negotiations of medieval diplomacy. Chroniclers of the time often remarked on Henry's youthful vigor and Eleanor's undiminished beauty and sharp intellect. Their union was not merely a political coup for Henry, though it certainly was that, adding Aquitaine to his burgeoning Angevin empire. It was also a joining of two formidable personalities. Their early years together were marked by intense activity and an almost constant proximity, a stark contrast to many royal couples who often lived apart. Henry, though constantly on the move, frequently ensured Eleanor was near him, whether traveling with him through his vast domains or residing at a nearby favored castle. This consistent presence, more than just a matter of protocol, hints at a genuine pleasure in each other's company. Eleanor, far from being a passive queen, was a direct participant in the governance of their realm. She actively managed her Aquitaine territories, often acting as Henry's regent there. Her involvement was not merely a delegated task. She took pride in her administrative capabilities, and Henry seemed to trust her judgment and abilities profoundly. This shared engagement in the great matters of state and their intellectual rapport forged a powerful bond. Plantagenet Court, under Henry and Eleanor, became a vibrant hub of culture and learning, a place where troubadours were patronized and new ideas flourished. Eleanor's sophisticated tastes, cultivated in her youth in Aquitaine, blended with Henry's more pragmatic, yet equally sharp mind. They had 8 children together, 5 sons and 3 daughters in the span of 13 years, a prolific rate that speaks not only to the demands of royal succession but also to the intimacy and physical connection within their marriage. Each birth was an event of great significance, celebrated with regal pomp, and the very act of bearing so many children for Henry solidified her position and their shared future. The sheer number of their progeny, especially in an era where fertility was paramount for dynasty survival, suggested a marriage that was not just politically productive, but physically engaged and by many accounts passionate. One particular anecdote that reveals something of their early dynamic comes from the English chronicler Ralph of Dis. He records Henry's immense pleasure in his wife's sharp wit and vibrant personality. Henry, known for his fiery temper and restless energy, seemed to find a match in Eleanor. It was often noted by those at court that Eleanor possessed an uncanny ability to soothe Henry's rages and direct his formidable energy. This went beyond the duties of a queen. It spoke to a deeper understanding and influence. They shared common interests, notably a deep love for hunting and riding, and were often seen together engaged in these pursuits, a partnership not always common among royal couples. The image of them riding side by side across the English countryside, engaged in animated conversation, paints a picture of companionship and shared enjoyment. However, even the most passionate unions can face trials. As their children grew, so did the complexities of governing an empire that stretched from Scotland to the Pyrenees. Henry's political ambitions were boundless, and his relationships with his sons, particularly the older ones, became increasingly strained. This strain eventually led to the Great Revolt of 1173, in which Eleanor and her sons, most notably the younger Henry and Richard, rose against the king. This tragic turn of events, culminating in Eleanor's long imprisonment, often overshadows the initial vibrancy of their union. Yet even during her captivity, Henry kept her close, though confined. He never sought to annul their marriage despite the opportunities, nor did he take another queen. This decision, in an age where royal marriages were easily dissolved for political expediency or lack of heirs, suggests a lingering attachment, a bond that, though fractured, was never entirely broken. Upon Henry's death in 1189, Eleanor, now in her late 60s, was immediately released by her son, Richard the Lionheart. Her mourning for Henry was reportedly profound and sincere, a surprising depth of emotion given their estrangement. She spent the remainder of her life vigorously supporting her sons, Richard and later John, in their reigns, often drawing upon the very political acumen that had once both attracted and challenged. Her actions in widowhood, particularly her staunch defense of the Plantagenet legacy, reveal a deep commitment to the dynasty she helped build with Henry. Even in their later years of separation, their shared ambition for their children and their empire served as a powerful, if complicated, testament to the enduring impact of their initial fiery union. The relationship between Eleanor of Aquitaine and Henry II was undeniably tumultuous, filled with grand ambitions, bitter betrayals, and long periods of separation. Yet the sheer speed of their marriage, the intensity of their early years together, their prolific family, and the unique partnership they forged in ruling a vast empire all point to a connection that began with a powerful mutual attraction and evolved into something far more profound than a mere political convenience. It was a love story, albeit a complicated and deeply human one, etched into the very chronicles of the 12th century. Number 7. Philippa of Hainault, a steadfast heart in turbulent times. In the tumultuous 14th century, amidst the grand pageantry of chivalry and the brutal realities of war, a queen emerged who exemplified unwavering devotion and shrewd counsel. Philippa of Hainault, born around 1314, was a woman of gentle disposition yet formidable strength. Her marriage to Edward III of England, a union that began as a political arrangement between two powerful houses, blossomed into one of the most enduring and genuinely affectionate partnerships in English royal history. Their story offers a refreshing counter-narrative to the prevailing cynicism about love in medieval courts. The journey to their marriage began in 1326, when the young Prince Edward, then about 14, accompanied his mother, Isabella of France, on a diplomatic mission to Hainault. Isabella, estranged from her husband, Edward II, was seeking allies against him. It was during this visit that Edward first met Philippa, who was even younger than him. Chroniclers, such as Jean Froissart, a contemporary and meticulous recorder of events, described Philippa as being gentle and debonair, with a pleasing countenance. Though the marriage was politically motivated to secure the support of Count William I of Hainault for Isabella's cause, there appears to have been a mutual liking between the young prince and princess. A portrait was even sent to England for review, a standard practice. But Edward's reported immediate approval of Philippa's likeness suggests more than just acquiescence. Their wedding took place in January 1328 at York Minster. Shortly after, Edward III ascended to the throne. It was a modest affair for royal standards, reflecting the political instability of the time. However, the simplicity of the ceremony did not diminish the genuine connection that would grow between them. From the outset, Philippa proved to be more than just a consort. She was a calming presence for Edward, who, though a valiant warrior, was known for his bursts of temper and fierce ambition. She quickly became his trusted confidant and an invaluable partner in governance. Philippa's influence on Edward was profound and consistently positive. She encouraged his patronage of the arts and learning, contributing to the cultural blossoming of his reign. Her presence at court brought a measure of stability and warmth. She was often described as compassionate and merciful qualities that softened Edward's more martial inclinations. A notable example of her influence occurred during the Siege of Calais in 1347. After a long and brutal siege, Edward, in a fit of rage and frustration, demanded that 6 leading citizens of Calais sacrifice themselves for the city, appearing before him with ropes around their necks. Philippa, pregnant at the time, intervened. She tearfully pleaded, with Edward kneeling before him and begging for their lives, reminding him of his honor and compassion. Froissart specifically recounts this scene in his chronicles, highlighting Philippa's emotional power over her husband. This act of mercy, prompted solely by Philippa's heartfelt intervention, stands as a powerful testament to her moral fortitude and the profound respect and affection Edward held for her counsel. He valued her opinion, not just as a queen, but as the woman he loved. Their marriage was remarkably fertile, producing an astounding 14 children who survived infancy, a sign of a strong and intimate bond. Their numerous progeny, including many prominent figures of the next generation, ensured the continuation of the Plantagenet line and solidified the future of the English crown. The couple often traveled together, even during Edward's military campaigns, a rare occurrence for queens of the era. Philippa frequently accompanied Edward on his expeditions to France during the 100 Years' War, enduring the hardships of military camps and demonstrating her unwavering support. While Edward was away leading his armies, Philippa often served as regent of England, capably governing the kingdom in his absence. Her administrative skills and political judgment were consistently praised by contemporary observers. The fact that Edward entrusted her with such significant responsibility speaks volumes about his faith in her abilities and his deep reliance on her. Their personal relationship was characterized by mutual respect and affection. Unlike many kings who took mistresses or had strained relationships with their queens, Edward remained notably devoted to Philippa. There are few, if any, contemporary accounts of significant discord or infidelity on Edward's part during her lifetime. This devotion was reciprocated by Philippa, who remained steadfastly by his side through all the triumphs and tribulations of his long reign. Her presence in his life brought him joy and solace. Chroniclers frequently note Edward's joy at her presence and her ability to calm him. Philippa's death in 1369, at the age of 55, plunged Edward into a deep and profound grief. Froissart, in particular, vividly describes Edward's sorrow, noting that the king was heartbroken by the loss of his good lady. The immediate aftermath of her death saw Edward withdraw from public life for a period, overwhelmed by his grief. This visible outpouring of sorrow from such a powerful and often stoic king was highly unusual for the time and underscored the depth of his affection for his queen. He ordered elaborate funeral arrangements and ensured she was buried with full honors, a testament to her importance not only as a queen, but as a beloved wife. In the years following her death, Edward's reign began to decline, marked by ill health and increasing political struggles, almost as if the light and stability she had provided were extinguished. While this could be attributed to many factors, the narrative of his decline often intertwines with the loss of his beloved queen. The story of Philippa of Hainault and Edward III is a powerful example of a medieval royal marriage that transcended its initial political purpose. It was a union built on mutual respect, shared responsibility, and a deep, enduring affection. Philippa's gentle strength, her wise counsel, and her unwavering loyalty, but a cherished wife, demonstrating that even in an age dominated by power and pragmatism, true love could flourish on the throne. Number 6. Elizabeth Woodville, A Forbidden Royal Romance. In the mid-15th century, England was convulsed by the Wars of the Roses, a brutal, dynastic struggle for the throne. Amidst this chaos, a love story unfolded that defied every convention of royal marriage, a tale so bold and unexpected it shocked the political landscape of Europe. Elizabeth Woodville, born around 1437, was a woman of comparatively modest origins, a widow with 2 young sons from her first marriage to Sir John Grey of Groby, who had died fighting for the Lancastrian cause. Her secret marriage to King Edward IV, the dashing Enmitic Yorkist king, was an act of pure, unadulterated love, shattering the expectations of powerful alliances and strategic unions. Edward IV, a king renowned for his towering height, striking good looks, and magnetic personality, was also known for his numerous romantic dalliances. However, his encounter with Elizabeth Woodville seemed to strike a deeper chord. The traditional account, as told by historians like Sir Thomas More, describes Edward meeting Elizabeth while she was appealing for the return of her deceased husband's lands, possibly beneath an oak tree in Whittlewood Forest. While the precise details of their meeting are debated, what is clear is that Edward was utterly captivated by her. Elizabeth, with her beauty, intelligence, and dignified bearing, refused to become merely another of the king's conquests. She held out for marriage, a demand almost unthinkable for a woman of her status to a reigning monarch. King, smitten beyond all reason, decided to marry her in secret. This was not a public state-sanctioned union. The ceremony took place on May 1st, 1464, at Grafton Regis, with only Elizabeth's mother and 2 maids as witnesses. This clandestine nature of the wedding speaks volumes. Edward knew his choice would be met with furious opposition from his powerful cousin and chief advisor Richard Neville, the Earl of Warwick, known as the Kingmaker. Warwick had been diligently negotiating a prestigious European alliance for Edward, planning a marriage to a French princess. Edward's secret marriage to Elizabeth was a direct affront to Warwick's authority and to the established norms of royal diplomacy. King's willingness to risk such political upheaval for the woman he loved is a clear indicator of the depth of his feelings. When the marriage was finally revealed to the Privy Council in September 1464, the reaction was one of stunned disbelief and outrage. Many nobles found it scandalous. Not only was Elizabeth not of royal blood, but her family, the Woodvilles, were perceived as ambitious and quickly rose to prominence after the marriage, gaining titles and positions at court. This infuriated the established aristocracy, who saw their power challenged by a new upwardly mobile faction. Yet, despite the political fallout and the intense opposition, Edward stood firm. He had chosen love over political expediency, a revolutionary act for a monarch in an age dominated by calculated alliances. His unwavering defense of Elizabeth and her family, even at great personal and political cost, demonstrated his profound commitment to her. Their marriage, despite its controversial beginnings, was reportedly a happy one. They had 10 children together, including 2 sons who would become the princes in the Tower, and 5 daughters who would marry into European royalty, thereby legitimizing the Woodville lineage and ensuring the continuation of the Yorkist dynasty. Edward often showed great affection for Elizabeth. In public, a rare display for medieval monarchs, he relied on her counsel and was visibly devoted to her. Contemporary accounts from chroniclers of the period described them as a loving couple who enjoyed each other's company. The king's generosity towards Elizabeth and her family, though politically divisive, was also a testament to his desire to elevate his beloved wife and her kin. Elizabeth, for her part, reciprocated Edward's love with loyalty and unwavering support. She faced constant challenges to her legitimacy and the jealousy of the old nobility, yet she maintained her composure and dignity. During periods of political instability, when Edward was forced to flee England. Elizabeth bravely endured, often taking refuge in sanctuary with her children. Her strength and resilience in these trying times only seemed to deepen Edward's admiration and affection for her. The bond between them was tested repeatedly, but it endured. The fact that Edward, a king with considerable power and a reputation for womanizing, settled down with Elizabeth and had a large family with her, eschewing other relationships, further indicates a deep and abiding attachment. Edward's trust in Elizabeth was evident in her significant role at court. She presided over her own household, exerted influence on diplomatic matters, and was actively involved in raising her children. Court chronicler Philippa de Hainault noted the significant influence the Woodvilles gained through Elizabeth, reflecting her unique position not just as queen, but as a beloved wife, whose family the king wished to elevate. Coronation, held in May 1465, was a grand affair designed to cement her position and dispel any doubts about her legitimacy. Edward spared no expense, protruding his pride in his queen. Edward IV died suddenly in April 1483. His death plunged Elizabeth into profound grief and ushered in the tragic events of the Princes in the Tower. Chronicler Domenico Mancini, who was in England shortly after Edward's death, observed the deep mourning at court, suggesting that the king's death was a genuine loss to those closest to him, including his queen. Elizabeth's later life was filled with heartbreak and political intrigue, as she fought to protect her children and her family's legacy. Her actions in the face of such adversity were driven by a fierce maternal love and a steadfast loyalty to the memory of her husband and the dynasty they had built together. The marriage of Elizabeth Woodville and Edward IV was a daring and unconventional act of love in a calculating age. It was a union that defied social norms, challenged powerful political figures, and ultimately reshaped the course of English history. Despite the immense obstacles and the tragic end to their story, the fact that a king risked his throne for a commoner and that their bond remained strong through years of tumultuous challenges stands as a powerful testament to a love that truly conquered all, proving that even in the cutthroat world of medieval royalty, the heart could indeed rule. Number 5. Agnes of Merania. A king's defiance for love. At the turn of the 13th century, the Kingdom of France was presided over by Philip II, a shrewd and ambitious monarch known as Philip Augustus. He was a king who pursued territorial expansion and centralized power with relentless determination. Yet even this pragmatic ruler found himself utterly consumed by a passion that led him to defy the most powerful institution in Europe, the papacy. His dramatic and unwavering commitment to Agnes of Merania, a noblewoman of Bavarian origin, stands as one of the most striking examples of love overcoming political and religious obstacles in the Middle Ages. Philip's first marriage to Isabella of Hainault had been politically advantageous, but tragically short-lived, ending with her death in 1190. His second marriage to Ingeborg of Denmark in 1193 was a disaster from the start, for reasons still debated by historians. Perhaps a physical repulsion, perhaps a pre-existing illness, or perhaps a psychological aversion. Philip immediately rejected Ingeborg on their wedding night. He attempted to have the marriage annulled, claiming consanguinity, a blood relation that was not, in fact, an impediment. The Church, however, denied his request, insisting on the validity of the union. Despite the Pope's firm stance, Philip locked Ingeborg away and sought another bride. It was amidst this marital crisis that Philip met Agnes of Merania, the daughter of Berthold, Duke of Merania. Born around 1175, Agnes was described as a woman of exceptional beauty and charm, possessing a gentle and agreeable disposition. Philip, despite being already married in the eyes of the Church, became completely enamored with her. He married Agnes in June 1196, fully knowing that this union was deemed bigamous by Pope Celestine III, and later by Pope Innocent III, one of the most formidable pontiffs of the era. This was no ordinary marriage. It was an act of defiance. A king openly challenging the spiritual authority that held sway over all of Christendom. The sheer audacity of Philip's actions speaks volumes about the depth of his affection for Agnes. He was willing to risk excommunication, the spiritual damnation of his soul, and the interdict of his entire kingdom, a severe punishment that forbade religious services and sacraments, all for the sake of his beloved. Pope Innocent III, who ascended the papal throne in 1198, was resolute in his condemnation of Philip's bigamous marriage. He demanded that Philip abandon Agnes and reinstate Ingeborg. When Philip refused, the Pope placed France under an interdict in December 1199. This was a devastating blow to the French people, denying them sacraments like baptism, communion, and last rites. The pressure on Philip was immense. Despite the severe consequences of the interdict, which caused widespread discontent among his subjects, Philip steadfastly refused to give up Agnes. He moved her from castle to castle, attempting to shield her from the papal demands and the growing unrest. His personal devotion to her was clear to all at court. Chroniclers, such as Rigord, who wrote a history of Philip Augustus, noted that Philip truly adored Agnes, and that her presence brought him great happiness. He defied his own bishops, his nobles, and even the pleas of his most loyal advisors, all for the woman he had chosen. His unwavering loyalty in the face of such immense pressure is a compelling testament to a love that was profound and deeply personal, overriding all political and spiritual considerations. Agnes, for her part, was deeply committed to Philip. She bore him 3 children, a son named Philip Hurepel, and 2 daughters, Mary and John. The birth of a son, even if deemed illegitimate by the Church, strengthened Philip's desire to keep Agnes by his side. She was his confidante and companion. And their life together, despite the ongoing papal conflict, was characterized by genuine affection. The court saw them together, and the king's preference for Agnes was undeniable. He showered her with gifts and treated her as his rightful queen, even as the Pope continued to refer to her as his concubine. The papal interdict continued for several years, causing significant suffering throughout France. Public pressure mounted on Philip to submit. Eventually, in 1201, after nearly 2 years of interdict, Philip reluctantly agreed to dismiss Agnes, hoping to appease the Pope and have the interdict lifted. However, even this separation was filled with heartbreak. Agnes, in fragile health, succumbed to her sorrows shortly after dying in July 1201. Her death was a tragic blow to Philip. Many contemporary accounts suggested she died of a broken heart. Unable to bear the separation from the king and the humiliation of her position, Philip Augustus mourned Agnes deeply. His grief was evident to his court and to the chroniclers of the time. While he eventually reconciled with Ingeborg, bringing her back to court, though he still largely avoided her, his heart remained with Agnes. He spent years lobbying the Pope to legitimize their children, a powerful act of a father and a lover, acknowledging his profound bond with Agnes and the offspring they shared. Pope Innocent III, recognizing Philip's deep attachment and the reality of the situation, eventually declared Agnes's children legitimate. In 1201, an unusual concession that reflected the acknowledgement of the profound connection between Philip and Agnes. The story of Philip Augustus and Agnes of Merania is not a fairy tale of seamless harmony, but a raw and powerful depiction of a king's struggle against the dictates of his time. For the sake of love, it illustrates a monarch so deeply smitten that he was willing to endure the wrath of God's representative on earth, plunge his kingdom into spiritual crisis, and defy the expectations. Agnes's tragic end, brought on by the very forces that tried to tear them apart, only caused the intensity of their bond. Their defiant love, though ultimately costly, stands as an extraordinary example of personal devotion, triumphing, however briefly, over the cold calculus of medieval power politics. Number 4. Catherine of Valois. A queen's devotion to a warrior king. In the early 15th century, a queen graced the English throne, whose brief but intense marriage to a heroic warrior king captured the imagination of their era. Catherine of Valois, born in 1401, was a French princess, daughter of the ailing King Charles VI, and Isabella of Bavaria. Her marriage to Henry V of England, the victor of Agincourt, was initially a political prize, the culmination of a treaty designed to end decades of conflict between England and France. Yet, beneath the layers of political necessity, a genuine and profound affection blossomed between them, a bond of mutual respect and admiration that defied the cynical expectations of royal unions. Henry V, a king of formidable military prowess and deep piety, was not known for frivolous, romantic attachments. His focus was on securing his claim to the French throne and restoring order to his kingdom. When he met Catherine as part of the negotiations for the Treaty of Troyes in 1420, it was clear that he was captivated by her beauty and charm. Catherine, a young woman of 19, was described as gentle and graceful, possessing an appealing innocence. The treaty itself was monumental, designating Henry as the heir to the French throne and uniting the two kingdoms to his marriage to Catherine. While this was a grand political arrangement, contemporary accounts suggest that Henry's interest in Catherine was not merely a matter of statecraft. Their wedding took place in May 1420 at Troyes Cathedral, a swift conclusion to the political negotiations. The marriage was celebrated with considerable pomp, but the true testament to their relationship lay in their daily interactions. Unlike many royal marriages, where couples lived separate lives, Henry and Catherine remained in close proximity whenever possible. She accompanied him on his military campaigns in France, a remarkable feat for a queen, especially one who had only recently arrived in a new land. Her presence in the camps and her willingness to endure the hardships of wartime travel demonstrated her unwavering support and deep commitment to her husband. This constant companionship, far from being a mere duty, fostered a powerful intimacy between them. Chroniclers of the time, such as Tito Livio Frulovisi, who wrote a biography of Henry V, noted Henry's apparent devotion to Catherine. He was observed to be unusually attentive to her, often seeking her company and valuing her presence. He treated her, not just as a queen, but as a cherished wife. Their relationship was free from public scandal or notable discord, a stark contrast to many royal couples of the era. This absence of conflict, combined with Henry's serious and disciplined nature, suggests a deep underlying harmony and mutual contentment. Court saw a king who genuinely enjoyed his queen's company. Their union quickly produced a male heir, the future Henry VI, born in December 1421, a pivotal event for the continuation of the Lancastrian dynasty and the Anglo-French crown. The birth of a son, so crucial for the stability of the realm, would have naturally cemented their bond. But the accounts suggest affection was already present. Catherine, though young, embraced her role as queen and mother with quiet dignity. Telling anecdote about their personal relationship involves Henry V's famous helmet, which was designed with a crown on top. It was said that Catherine took great pride in this symbolic adornment, recognizing it as a mark of her husband's regal authority and courage. This small detail, if true, suggests a shared sense of purpose and pride in his achievements, a subtle but powerful indicator of their connection. Tragically, their marriage was cut short by Henry V's sudden death in August 1422 from dysentery at the age of only 35. Catherine was just 21 years old and had been married for little more than 2 years. Her grief was immense and visibly profound. The shock of losing her powerful Matic husband, who was also her beloved companion, was palpable. Chroniclers describe her deep sorrow and the somber atmosphere at court following his death. Her subsequent actions, particularly her care for their infant son, the new King Henry VI, were imbued with a sense of carrying on Henry V's legacy. She devoted herself to the upbringing of their son, often ensuring his well-being above her own, a testament to her loyalty to Henry's memory. Though she later entered into a controversial possibly secret, second marriage with Owen Tudor, the circumstances of this later union do not diminish the sincerity of her first. Her choices in widowhood, particularly adventurous marriages, hint at a desire for personal connection over political gain, perhaps influenced by the deep affection she had experienced with Henry V. The love between Catherine of Valois and Owen Tudor with Henry V. The love between Catherine of Valois would have been a different kind of love, one born of companionship. Would have been a different kind of love. However, her devotion to Henry V in their brief time together set a precedent for her heart's desires. The brevity of their marriage only makes the depth of their affection more poignant. Henry V, a king accustomed to absolute command and driven by ambition, found a rare solace and companionship in Catherine. Her unwavering support, her presence by his side during arduous campaigns, and the clear absence of marital strife in their short union all speak to a connection that transcended the political treaty that brought them together. Catherine of Valois and Henry V demonstrated that even in the highest echelons of medieval power, where marriages were often cold calculations, a queen could genuinely love her king, and that king could return her affection with devoted respect. Their story, though short, stands as a powerful testament to a royal love that defied the conventions of their age. Number 3. Blanche of Castile, a model of royal affection and partnership. In the first half of the 13th century, France was blessed with a queen who was not only a formidable regent and astute political player, but also the deeply beloved wife of her king. Blanche of Castile, born in 1188, was a Spanish princess, granddaughter of Eleanor of Aquitaine. Her marriage to Louis VIII, then the Dauphin of France, was purely a political arrangement, part of a peace treaty between England and France. Yet from these pragmatic beginnings blossomed a partnership characterized by profound affection, mutual respect, and shared governance that set a rare example of royal marital harmony. Blanche's journey to France began at a tender age. She was sent by her grandmother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, to marry Louis in 1200. Eleanor, known for her sharp judgment, reportedly chose Blanche over her elder sister, believing Blanche possessed a stronger character. The wedding, which took place in Normandy, was simple, due to the ongoing interdict in France, ironically, the one Philip Augustus defied, for Agnes of Merania. Despite the lack of pomp, the young couple Blanche at 12 and Louis at 13 began a relationship that would endure and deepen over the decades. As Louis grew into his role as king, ascending the throne in 1223, Blanche proved to be an indispensable partner. Their marriage produced a remarkable 12 or 13 children, of whom 7 survived to adulthood, a testament to their enduring intimacy and shared commitment to dynastic continuity. This prolific family life was not just a matter of duty. It reflected a close and supportive marital environment. Louis and Blanche often spent their days together, managing state affairs and raising their large family. Contemporary chroniclers, particularly those at the French court, such as Matthew Paris and the anonymous author of the Grande Chronique de France, frequently commented on the exceptional bond between Louis and Blanche. They were often described as devoted to each other, a rare compliment for a royal couple. Unlike many kings of the era, Louis VIII was known for his monogamy and his unwavering loyalty to Blanche. There are no credible accounts of him taking mistresses or engaging in scandalous behavior. His faithfulness was a stark contrast to his father, Philip Augustus, and suggested a deeply contented and fulfilling marital life. Louis evidently admired Blanche's intellect and her strong character. He frequently consulted her on matters of state and trusted her judgment implicitly. This respect went beyond the formal duties of a queen. It was the respect of a husband for his intelligent and capable wife. Blanche, for her part, was not content to be a mere figurehead. She was a woman of strong will and keen political insight. She actively participated in governance, often acting as a co-ruler in practice. When Louis embarked on military campaigns, he frequently entrusted the regency of the kingdom to Blanche, knowing she would manage affairs with competence and determination. One significant example of their partnership came during Louis' campaign against the Albigensian Cathars in southern France. He relied heavily on Blanche's administrative abilities to keep the kingdom stable and to secure funds for the war effort. His trust in her capacity was complete. Their personal bond was evident in their letters and in accounts of their private life. They reportedly shared a love for music and literature, enjoying intellectual pursuits together. Their shared piety also strengthened their connection, as both were devout Catholics. This shared faith and mutual respect fostered an environment of harmony that allowed them to tackle the considerable challenges of their reign together. Louis VIII's reign was tragically short, lasting only 3 years. He died in 1226, leaving behind his young son, the future Louis IX, St. Louis, who was only 12 years old. Blanche's grief at her husband's death was profound. She immediately assumed the regency for her son, a role she performed with extraordinary skill and tenacity for the next decade. Her vigorous defense of the young king's rights against rebellious barons and her shrewd diplomatic maneuvers were a testament to her political genius, skills honed during her years of partnership with Louis VIII. Her actions as regent were driven not only by a sense of duty to the crown, but also by a fierce loyalty to her late husband's legacy and their children. She protected the kingdom that she and Louis had governed together. Chronicler Matthew Paris, despite sometimes being critical of French affairs, acknowledged Blanche's exceptional capabilities and the devotion she showed to her son's interests, which were inherently tied to Louis VIII's legacy. Her unwavering commitment to the stability of the Capetian dynasty, which she worked tirelessly to secure for her son, reflected her deep loyalty to the family she had built with Louis. The story of Blanche of Castile and Louis VIII is not one of dramatic defying all odds romance, but rather a compelling example of a marriage that began politically and evolved into a profound partnership based on mutual respect. Their union laid the groundwork for the reign of their son, St. Louis, one of France's most revered kings. Blanche's unwavering loyalty, her intellectual prowess, and Louis's singular devotion to her created a model of royal marriage that stood as a testament to the power of a deep and enduring love in the heart of medieval French royalty. Number 2. Isabella of Angoulême, a reckless passion for a controversial king. At the dawn of the 13th century, in a world where royal marriages were meticulously negotiated instruments of power, a king renowned for his treachery and volatile temper found himself inexplicably smitten. Isabella of Angoulême, born around 1188, was a young, dazzlingly beautiful noblewoman who was already betrothed to Hugh IX of Lusignan, a powerful Poitevin count. Yet King John of England, a monarch infamous for his political machinations and personal excesses, cast aside all convention and diplomatic protocol to make her his queen. Their marriage, a testament to a powerful, albeit often tumultuous, mutual attraction, was born of reckless passion and had profound consequences for both their lives and the course of English history. King John, who ascended the English throne in 1199, was already married to Isabella, Countess of Gloucester, a union that was childless and politically ineffective. When John encountered Isabella of Angoulême in August 1200, her striking beauty and youthful vivacity captivated him entirely. He was, by all accounts, completely infatuated. This was not a calculated political move. It was an impulsive act of desire. Isabella was barely 12 years old and John was 33. Her existing betrothal to Hugh IX was a significant impediment, as breaking such an agreement was a grave insult that could easily lead to war. Despite the obvious political risks and the potential for severe diplomatic fallout, John pressed ahead. He simply seized Isabella and married her in Bordeaux on August 24th, 1200. This was an astonishingly audacious act for a king, openly violating a prior engagement and alienating a powerful vassal. The swiftness and secrecy of the marriage, conducted without the customary lengthy negotiations or even the papal dispensation for his existing marriage, which he had quickly annulled on dubious grounds of consanguinity, speaks volumes about the intensity of John's desire for Isabella. He wanted her, and he wanted her immediately, regardless of the cost. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Hugh IX of Lusignan, enraged by the insult and the abduction of his promised bride, appealed to Philip II of France, John's overlord, for his continental territories. This grievance became a major pretext for Philip Augustus to renew his war against John, leading directly to the loss of Normandy and most of John's French possessions, a catastrophic blow to the English crown. John's decision to marry Isabella for love, or at least for intense desire, cost him an empire. Yet even in the face of such immense loss, John never regretted his marriage to Isabella, nor did he discard her. His unwavering commitment to her, despite the immense political price, suggests a powerful personal bond. Isabella, for her part, seems to have been equally drawn to the monarch, if deeply flawed, King John. Their relationship was intensely passionate, marked by periods of great affection and also volatile arguments, characteristic of John's predictable nature. She bore him 5 children in quick succession, including the future King Henry III, solidifying the succession and giving John the heirs he desperately desired. This prolific family life, alongside the numerous historical accounts of their shared court life, points to a marriage that was active and intimate. John showered Isabella with attention and affection, treating her as his true queen. He often gifted her lavish jewels and clothes and ensured she was present at important court functions. Chroniclers, such as Roger of Wendover, noted her continued beauty and charm, which captivated John throughout their marriage. Despite John's reputation for infidelity, his connection to Isabella seemed to hold a special significance. He remained devoted to her as his queen and the mother of his children. Their marriage, though turbulent, endured until John's death in October 1216. Isabella was still relatively young, about 28 years old and pregnant with their 5th child. Her grief at his passing was reportedly genuine, a testament to the complex, deeply personal bond they shared. Her actions in widowhood, particularly her fierce protection of her children's rights and her later decision to return to Angoulême to govern her own lands, reflect the same spirited independence that had initially attracted John. Isabella of Angoulême's second marriage, ironically, was to Hugh X of Lusignan, the son of her original betrothed, Hugh IX. This was a strategic move to secure her children's inheritance and her own position in Poitou. Yet even in this later marriage, her life remained marked by a fierce independence and a determination to control her own destiny, much like her first husband. The marriage of Isabella of Angoulême and King John of England was a union born, not of careful political calculation, but of overwhelming desire and a king's headstrong pursuit of the woman he wanted. It was a relationship that defied convention, triggered wars, and ultimately reshaped the map of Europe. Yet, despite the immense political costs and the often turbulent nature of their personal interactions, their enduring intimacy, their large family, and John's consistent devotion to Isabella in the face of widespread criticism paint a compassion over prudence and a queen who met his fervor with an equally strong spirit. Their story stands as a dramatic testament to the unpredictable power of love, even in the cynical world of medieval royalty. Number 1. Joan of Navarre. A midlife romance that endured. In the early 15th century, when the brutal realities of war and dynastic ambition often overshadowed personal happiness, a remarkable royal marriage unsteeled its companionship. Joan of Navarre, born around 1370, was the daughter of King Charles II of Navarre, known as Charles the Bad. She was a widow, having been married for 2 decades to Duke John IV of Brittany, and had borne him 9 children. When she married Henry IV of England, a king newly ascended to the throne through a dramatic usurpation, It was not a union of youthful infatuation, but a mature partnership built on respect, shared experience. Henry IV, who seized the English crown from Richard II in 1399, was himself a widower. His first wife, Mary de Bohun, had died in 1394, leaving him with a large family, including the future Henry V. By the time Henry sought a new queen, he was in his mid-30s, and Joan was about 32. This was not a typical pairing of a young princess to an older king for dynastic purposes. Both were experienced rulers, seasoned by life's challenges and the demands of governance. The marriage, while politically expedient to secure Brittany's neutrality in Anglo-French conflicts, was also carefully considered for personal compatibility. Negotiations for their marriage began around 1401. Culminating in Joan's arrival in England in January 1403, her reception in London was grand, but what truly distinguished this union was the personal connection that quickly developed between the two. Chroniclers, such as the anonymous author of the Gesta Henrici Quinti, Deeds of Henry V, noted Henry's visible pleasure. She was described as a woman of intelligence, grace, and considerable charm, qualities that clearly endeared her to the king. Unlike many kings who took mistresses even when married, Henry IV appears to have been remarkably devoted to Joan throughout their marriage. There are no significant records of infidelity on his part, which suggests a deeply contented and fulfilling personal relationship. Their marriage, though it did not produce any surviving children, possibly due to their age, was marked by strong companionship. Joan embraced her role as queen with dignity and became a supportive presence for Henry. She often traveled with him even as his health began to decline in later years, demonstrating her unwavering loyalty and care. She presided over her own household with efficiency and grace, and her influence at court was palpable. Henry, burdened by the constant threat of rebellion and his own deteriorating health, found solace and counsel in his queen. Their shared life was characterized by mutual trust. Henry relied on Joan for emotional support, and often consulted her on matters of state. She was a politically astute woman, having managed the Duchy of Brittany for her late husband and for her son. This experience made her a valuable confidant for Henry, who faced immense pressures as a newly crowned king, struggling to legitimize his reign. The fact that Henry entrusted her with significant responsibilities, including managing his affairs and even on occasion granting her the power to act as regent in his absence, speaks volumes about his faith in her capabilities and his deep affection for her. One particular instance highlighting their bond occurred during a period of Henry's grave illness. Joan, known for her devotion, meticulously nursed him back to health, refusing to leave his side. Such intimate care was not always expected of queens, and it becues the depth of their personal connection. It was clear to the court that Joan was not merely a political partner, she was a cherished wife. Henry IV's health continued to worsen over the years, marked by various debilitating illnesses, possibly leprosy or epilepsy. During this difficult period, Joan remained steadfastly by his side, providing comfort and unwavering support. Her patience and dedication in the face of his declining health further exemplify the profound nature of their bond. Her role transcended that of a queen. She was a true companion in sickness and in health. Henry IV died in March 1413. After a reign plagued by ill health and political unrest, Joan's grief was reportedly profound and sincere. She organized his funeral with immense care and devotion, ensuring he was honored with a burial befitting a king. Even after his death, she continued to be a respected figure at court, often acting as a mediator in disputes and maintaining good relations with her stepson, King Henry V, a testament to her enduring influence and the respect she had garnered. In 1419, she was accused of witchcraft against Henry V, a charge likely fabricated for political reasons by those who resented her foreign influence and wealth. She was imprisoned for several years, her lands confiscated. Despite this grave injustice, she maintained her innocence, and upon her eventual release, continued to live with quiet dignity, remaining a respected dowager queen until her death. In 1437, the circumstances of her false accusation, while tragic, ironically underscore the strength of her initial bond with Henry IV. Her perceived power and influence, gained through their loving partnership, made her a target. The marriage of Joan of Navarre and Henry IV was a testament to the power of a mature companionate love in an age where royal unions were often devoid of personal affection. It was a relationship built on mutual respect, shared responsibility, and unwavering loyalty. Joan's quiet strength, her devotion to her ailing husband, and Henry's clear preference for her company demonstrate that even for a king, burdened by the heavy weight of a usurped crown, true love and companionship could be found and cherished. Their story stands as a poignant reminder that royal hearts too could beat for love, proving that some queens and kings genuinely married for affection, not just for power.